And the truth is that if we want to have trust in our communities, then the sheriff has to protect citizens, not illegals.
The way in which policing is conducted could cause distrust in the immigrant community is a difficult thing to do without creating distrust.
Really?
You go down and start
Really?
people
No. They have a responsibility to the American community. That's very offensive.
So our recommendation is to beef up the supervision and training process in order to compensate for the fact that spot checking that is more difficult. The general policy of the Sheriff's Department has always been not to ask immigration status when it's not relevant to a criminal investigation, and we believe that's for the most part followed. But of course, individuals can always step away from the policy when they're not supervised properly for personal reasons or just by accident or from animosity. So it's something that needs to be addressed in some way. The third one, of course, is to collaborate with the Office of Immigration Affairs, which has been created by the county to sort of facilitate this effort that we support immigrants in our communities. And as I was discussing, we did some collaborating about the nature of the reports notices that are given to folks when their information is given to ICE. But I think that's the area that the Immigration Affairs Office would be very helpful in creating the report. So I recommend that developing with that office. And in fact, the Sheriff's Department sits on a task force now that I've had recently that is chaired by the Immigration Affairs Office, and so I think there will be an increased communication between them. And then finally, the last one has to do with some changes in the law that relate to changing the level of certain crimes that used to be are on the contact list. And so as a result, there was the possibility that people were being treated as though they were on the contact list when they weren't, which changed in the type of crime that they committed. And the Sheriff's Department has agreed to work on that. I don't believe it's a large problem. I think it's on the edges problem because
it's just untenable to me. They spend so much time talking about illegals. When are they going to start talking about the safety of Americans? You know, Kate Steinle's trial is happening right now for the illegal who killed her. Okay, the guy was a 5-time deportee. He had multiple felonies. Why are we obsessing about illegals? When are we going to start talking about Americans?
And those are the recommendations, and I can address any other questions. And then, of course, in preparing the report, that ultimately my office can provide additional assistance as needed for the instructions of the board.
Yeah, they're wrapping it up. And we're going to be able to talk soon.
Questions for the commission. Yes, Commissioner Miller.
Just two questions. So the first question is, what is the policy if during patrol someone voluntarily tells of their immigration status? Not because, just by saying,
what if one of these criminals says, I'm an illegal? What happens?
Without thinking about the implications of that. If a deputy hears that someone discloses their immigration status, what's the policy?
You know, I'm not aware of a nuance in the policy that says that they don't record that, they're required to not record that. However, the general practice regarding report writing is that you write down relevant information. So, in most instances, I wouldn't expect that.
Legal status is very relevant.
Unless it was relevant to the investigation. Of course, deputies are trained to be thorough, and they get live.
Hey Scott, how are you? This is my job. I'm a journalist, I'm an activist, I'm a writer. Absolutely. And I rely on the donations of people like you. So that's the fact of it.
Criminal prosecution or not. And so if the prosecution focus of whomever involved would be on the crime involved, then I would expect that information not to make its way to any other particular abuse, like for instance, to be communicated to ICE, and that seems unlikely given the way in which reports are handled. But I don't know that I can exclude the possibility, but I suspect it's correct.
The second question is kind of twofold. One is, have you seen these, you know, when inmates are given notice that they have been placed on a repeater? Right? I think they're supposed to be put in 22 different languages. I haven't seen that happen. I know that the language is being finessed, and they wanted to wait till that was good until they created those forms. So I want to ask that, but there's a broader issue too, that even when it is in English, like I've read it, and it's actually extremely confusing. And when I went and saw someone be given one of them, you know, the questions that he asked were, you know, what happens if I check the box?
That guy has his camera out. Check it out.
What happens if I check the box that I want my lawyer present? What happens if I check, that I do want to talk with them? There's nothing that tells them kind of their rights around not having to, or that there's not really necessarily going to be implications for them, or that they can decide to do it later, to talk with ICE later if they so choose. There's nothing that says that, if they do start talking with ICE, that they are able to cut that interview at any time that they wish without further repercussions. I mean, there's a lot of different pieces. So one of the recommendations that I made when I went there, one of the pieces that...
Hey, Ken. Hey, what's up, Ken Hartley? Wants you to know, I've been telling everybody about New Jersey. You need to tell all your friends in New Jersey to vote for Cordano. And I kind of, and I know that this word is kind of, people are like, I don't know if you should say it like this, but I mean, it's kind of like a Miranda right? Like to let people know their rights, their constitutional rights, so they're just their general rights. No, illegals do not have rights.
Oh my God.
Is she serious? What I recommended was that the questions that people are asking at the point of receiving this document, that we start recording what those questions are, so that we can create better policy around
There's lots of people here.
serving them.
That's exactly the kind of thing that I think that the reason I asked for the collaboration with the officers. Because the answer to the problem, which I agree with, is more complex than you might think. And Miranda is a great example, because Miranda, in order to be effective, you need to communicate clearly, and they got it down to a little card that police officers can carry to go, okay, I gave you Miranda rights. That took a lot of years, a lot of court cases, and it was easy. And it's the same problem here. We sat down with the security office who was speaking to them regarding this exact same issue. We went over extensively, and the department was very cooperative in this. We brought in some advocates from outside, and sat there and looked at it from exactly the same perspective. How can we do this in a way that empowers people, and that when they're facing something big and monolithic, to understand the nature of what they're really facing, and then maybe have some avenue to get due process.
Illegal aliens do not have constitutional rights. The 14th Amendment was for black slaves. It was meant to ensure the naturalization for all freedmen and their children. It was never, ever intended for illegals.
My personal recommendation would be keep the form simple and short, don't try to cover everything with them, and have additional resources available. For instance, in that process, we asked to give names of immigrant attorney groups that they could consult with. Part of the Truth Act that's built into it is notice to their attorney, and we work with the department to make sure that when that's the public defender, all the person has to do is say public defender. They don't have to say which one or wherever. And there's
They get a public defender, but Gary doesn't. Lori, did you get that? So, Gary has to pay through the teeth for a defender, but the illegals get a defender?
So I think stuff like that, make sure that people are aware of their rights, is the way to go. Trying to put them all into the form we found really hard, and ended up making more.
Yeah, that's it. No, and you're in the shot too, that's perfect. To the fullest.
Because, as an example, one of the
She's one of the other Spanish.
Well, are they going to have an interview? Well, 99.9% of the time there's no interview in church, but that's not happening. It could happen, and if ICE asks to, then they could under the limitations of the Trust Act, so people need that notice. But it's not what's really happening, so it's information that's not really helpful to most people. So it's hard. You've got to give them notice of things that may not happen, and then it results in confusion. Right? You're telling me things aren't happening, so I'm not going to do it, and then boom, this thing happens. So it's a difficult thing. I would propose that in your report back from the commission, you may want to look at them, draft
He's with the
something
register.
that you think would be good. But that's why I have the recommendation regarding the Office of Indian Affairs, because that's their business, to sit down, try to work with county council.
Excuse me, okay, you're almost done.
He's informed on the sheriff's department.
Thank you.
Sorry. And then it's effective.
Do other commissioners have questions on this report? Yes.
This is your Guatemala bag? We're hard here taking the panel in general.
Is this better?
Oh, that's way better.
So I was saying that, what's in your report is consistent with what you saw, although we inferred from the sheriff's department that ICE didn't have a permanent physical presence. There was an office with, hardware, computers, and so forth, and so I think this is tremendously helpful. My question has to do with, and I'm not sure if I understand this correctly, so I'm really, this is more of a question about information, is when someone is released, and there's information that's publicly available, that ICE may have this person sort of, as identified someone that they would like to detain, they don't meet the criteria of request. Is ICE still able to pick folks up when people are being released at the time they're being released after judgment?
I don't believe that has happened. Now, whether or not they could do it, sure, they could do it. At least in the past, prior to our latest president, the sheriff's department had a pretty good relationship with ICE, and I know that is disturbing the activists in which they had no relationship. But one of the positive aspects
I'm glad.
was that ICE worked within this framework.
I'm glad.
They had people there, and they collected the people who met the criteria, and they got 1,000 people a year. And they didn't do what they're describing because their people were busy. They were collecting people, transferring their custody, doing what they could to fulfill their mandate within the structure that the sheriff's department had created with them. And so part of the sort of gentleman's agreement we want was, hey, we don't want to see an ICE van coming out and picking everybody up right outside in front.
I do.
I do.
Yeah. We want them all rounded up. Enough.
And the sheriff has made a point of, when he was talking about posting at the before, prior to changes, particularly, that he was concerned about ICE moving out to the community. That is a legitimate concern. We know that ICE has done action in the community. They're already
Yes, they have.
and learn information about where people are. They might choose to pick them up in the prison, but that's outside the sheriff's control.
Yes,
but
it is.
in terms of the idea of, well, why don't they just stand right outside the jail and hook up who they want? They could, but they haven't. And if they did do that, it's kind of back to the resource issue you were hearing here. For the federal government to radically change its policies, just like us, they've got to work through resources and people, and that would be a much more resource-intensive operation. So I think it's a thing to legitimately be concerned about. I think the sheriff's department, of course, would be concerned about it because they have a relationship and they want ICE to treat them fairly and above board as they do. And I think to date, at least to my knowledge, I've asked that question a number of times. Hey, are any vans showing up? And the answer's always been no, and I've asked it to a lot of different people in different ways. So I'm pretty confident it hasn't happened. And my guess is it would.
Other questions or comments? Okay, I think we could turn to the public comment part of the for item 4. Just leave it. Our executive director, he would get all people on ramp 3 at a time. There are quite a few people that want to comment, so hopefully you can take the point that relates to 60%.
Okay, just hang on. You'll be good.
I'd like to follow 3 people: Greg Suska, Kerry Kaiser, followed by Carlos Amador.
All right, it's our turn now.
Kerry Kaiser, Carlos Amador.
This is it, folks. Microphone.
Louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am concerned about the way we handle illegal immigration. If illegals are on the list of ICE to be deported, I want the Sheriff's Department to cooperate fully.
These are press.
People are criminals.
This guy's from OC Register.
It seems that we're having a lackadaisical way of we're dealing with them. If they're criminals, don't we want them gone? Everybody has that uncle that's you'd like to deport if you could, because you don't like the way he is in his family.
That's right. The one who bites
it's like
my fingers.
Everybody's family, but we got to get rid of the bad ones if we can. And this is our opportunity and your opportunity to increase safety. Safety is the #1 concern that our government's supposed to have for the citizens of this country. And I think they've all been rather cowardly in dealing with the immigration situation. I'd like you to be more brave in following Mr. Trump's agenda.
Yes.
I am a Trump supporter.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see ICE get all the cooperation that this board can give them. Please remember that we did elect Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And his agenda is our agenda.
Yes.
Please get on board with
Yep.
our agenda and his agenda. Thank you for listening.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Gary Kaiser, followed by Carlos Amador, followed
Does
by
anyone
Scott
have an
Doyle.
I love ICE or we love ICE sign? Any extras? Thank you, brother. Hey, Ben, what's up?
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Hi, my name's Carrie. I'm a resident of Los Feliz, and I'm here to ask
Los
the Commission
Feliz.
to hold Sheriff McDonald accountable for throwing our immigrant communities under the bus
Oh,
by collaborating
brother.
with ICE. Our police cooperating with ICE is
She
a waste
is our
of
immigrant
limited money
community,
resources,
and she's here
tears
legally.
families apart, and creates distrust between our vulnerable immigrant communities and local police. ICE should not have the ability to enter jails and indiscriminately question people
Yes,
who
it
are waiting
should.
to be released. In public statements and in a letter to the Board of Supervisors, Sheriff McDonald denied feeding ICE information on those in his custody, and this commission should exercise its power to hold the sheriff accountable for lying to the public.
Lie.
I also urge the Civilian Oversight Commission to ask the Board of Supervisors to grant the commission full investigative and subpoena power, the ability to compel records that are not blocked by the Peace Officers Bill of Rights, and testimony from any entity that operates inside county jails. Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Carlos Amador, followed by Scott Doyle, followed by Lorraine Casada.
Boo.
Lori Casada.
Lori, would you pass that back to Robin? Thank you.
Thank you.
I couldn't find
I'm here, Carlos Amador, I'm here to also share strong concerns about some of the highlights that come out of this report from the investigative general. I also wanted to highlight how this is only the tip of the iceberg, right? Like the report that highlights some of the abuses and the lies that the Sheriff McDonald and his department have spread not only to this commission, not only to the public, but also to the supervisors.
There are
It's
no
only,
lies.
the tip of the
lying
iceberg on
comes from the
how
Obama
they
administration.
recklessly collaborate with the
corrupt
Trump
board
administration.
supervisors.
They recklessly collaborate with the deportation machine that is separating our families and our communities.
Too bad.
We demand